What's up, family? Welcome back to the Stop Sinking Show, where we go from struggle to flow. An area where I have had the most dissonance in my mind, something I can't settle, is about the concept of productivity. I spent my entire 20s being as busy as possible, constantly striving, believing in hustle culture, constantly trying to do something, learn something, fix something about myself. And as I've gotten older, where the flurry of activity no longer provides the same sense of relief, I've found and have talked about alternatives to striving that can lead to the same level of achievement, they say. And that is through allowing, through ease, through invitation, through attracting and magnetizing your desires. I'm still a work in progress in trying to reconcile these two opposing thought processes, but maybe they were never meant to be reconciled into one. Maybe it's the tension between each that attends the gates to our desires. Maybe it's why I call this a being show and a doing show, a blend of trying, striving, and letting and allowing. I'll start this with a story of what got me thinking about this. In the first month of being in India back in June, we called a landscaper to trim down almost all of the branches of the 4 trees in front of our property. Personally, I like the trees for their privacy, but they also bring with them more bugs and dead leaves and animals that climb on them and cleaning that must be done. So in the beginning of the brutal summer, we had them cut down to almost the trunk. Now in October, almost 5 months later, I couldn't help but marvel at how much they have regrown. Now there was a time in this house where we had a full-time landscaper and a lot of potted plants around the property. Someone had to come multiple times a week to water them and care for them. But since there's barely anyone in this house anymore, we got rid of the potted plants, and the trees around the property are not cared for or watered. And yet, bright green and luscious, they have grown. Without care, without attention, without any love, thriving through scorching 110-degree days. They have found a way to restore much of what was cut down. How their growth happened seemingly without much effort. They just allowed their nature to be. A tree that is used to losing its foliage, being abused by the elements, cut bare to suit the likings of whose property they occupy, while never losing the essence of what they were designed by nature for: growth. And so they grow, unapologetically, with ease, as if to never question what they were designed for: to grow and thrive, to be lush and green. Lao Tzu said, "Nature does not hurry, does not rush, and yet everything is accomplished." The tree doesn't strive to grow, yet it just grows. But I acknowledge that life has dual rhythms. The relentless push of human ambition, in contrast to the quiet, inevitable unfold of the natural process. We as humans are not trees. We have consciousness, mobility, and the ability to make choices, and personal egos that complicate everything. Yet it's useful still to be reminded by nature that growth can happen not in spite of adversity, but through a kind, innate alignment with it. No matter how much accomplishment we strive and struggle for, there is a symbiotic process that can also lead there through ease and allowing. The tree is designed to grow, and it just grows. It seeks no permission, and it doesn't let any human intervention cause it to forget what it is designed for, which is to grow. And I think this remains dissonant for me, and maybe it's not meant to be settled because this doesn't remove the requirement that you have to be willing to bear the hardship, the difficulty, if and when it arises. But to have the mental construct, the belief where you think hardship equals growth will only invite more hardship, because that will be the only way you know to grow, and leave then very little room for ease to perform its magic. Ironically, while I was pondering this, I had a friend on Instagram. His name on there is Abu Shadi, I believe that's how he says it, the man of the heart, who made a video about how nature doesn't try, how it's at ease. And I shared with him the example of the tree, to which he said in his exact words, he said, nature is inherently fueled by love, is loving to itself. The tree loves itself. Every cell of the tree loves itself, vibrant of God's presence. We think that we, the humans, haven't been given that care and love and attention. We think we aren't getting that. But truly, just as an integral part of nature, of God's nature, it receives all the love and care and attention it needs. So much to learn from sitting with and watching and witnessing nature. We are not any different or separate from that. Our bodies are made from the same intelligence. It's us getting in the way all the time that causes the problems, or us trying to fix the problems with the very thing that caused the problems in the first place. And if we could just allow, then the highest expression of nature would be what it is. It would prevail, because we are provided for, always loved. And what he said made sense to me in unlocking why nature is at ease. And it's because, like he said, nature loves itself and nourishes itself. It has the capacity to, and does, give itself all that it needs. It goes and finds it deep within its roots, all around its environment, way below and beyond where you can see its nourishment. And because it loves itself, it can be at ease. It feels no need. In Taoism, this would be called Wu Wei, an effortless action or a form of non-doing, which is not about passivity, but acting in harmony with the flow of life without unnecessary force, aligning your actions with nature, letting things happen, while also being prepared to act when the moment is ripe. Nature has its own self-assured purpose. The Buddha said, the secret to a happy life consists in both right actions and right non-actions, a blend of action and allowing. Even Tupac left us with a beautiful collection of poems that emphasize how beauty emerges from struggle without needing to try. The seed must grow, he said, regardless of the fact it was planted in stone, like a rose that grew from concrete, unyielding, telling the world, this is what I do. I grow. I'll end this with his poem. Did you hear about the rose that grew from a crack in the concrete? Proving nature's law is wrong. It learned to walk without having feet. Funny it seems, but by keeping its dreams, it learned to breathe fresh air. Long live the rose that grew from concrete when no one else ever cared. I love you, family. Stay true always. I see you on the next show.